With the rise in popularity of streaming sites, it's becoming harder and harder for artists to make money off their music alone. In fact, Spotify only pays artists 0.00437 cents per stream. Independent artists make most of their money off of touring and merchandise sales. In March of 2020, many of the venues were closed down due to the pandemic. This has put independent artists in a difficult spot.
Cougar football has returned. The season opener was against OSU. The score, 38-28 WSU. And while football has returned, students will not be able to return to the stands.
Here at WSU, students are required to put together a writing portfolio before they can sign up for their senior year classes. However, that has changed with the stay-at-home orders from the state. The shift in format was put in place to ease the stress of both faculty and students, though some students who have already taken the time writing portion feel the change is unfair. 2020 has been a difficult year financially for many individuals and businesses. Independent musicians are not offered the same comforts that signed artists are and have had to deal with the many stresses that are a result of the global pandemic. Amari Purnell, who goes by Amari, is an independent artist out of North Carolina. The 23-year-old rapper has been making music seriously for the past 6 years. According to Parnell,
Yeah, I have did some live shows before. I haven't done any since this hit. We were supposed to go to Texas. A few little spots that me and my friends did manage to get, they all went to shot. So and I'm a newer artist, so I'm limited to certain places right now anyway. Somebody like me that's newer, because I think that's a good way for me to really for people to see me and get that early, who's this? And later down the line, oh, I remember he opened for blah blah blah. And I those are how you get those core supporters, is by being in front of them and them seeing you and they can feel what you're saying. So definitely, I think that actually kind of stunning a lot of upcoming artists is, that next step for them.
with the rise in popularity of streaming sites, it's becoming harder and harder for artists to make money off their music alone. In fact, Spotify only pays artists 0.00437 cents per stream. Independent artists make most of their money off of touring and merchandise sales. In March of 2020, many of the venues were closed down due to the pandemic. This has put independent artists in a difficult spot. Seattle rapper and producer Miguel Preza, or as he's known on stage, Planet Namek, has been writing rhymes since he was in the first grade. According to Preza,
for the rap shows, I've done community centers and schools, and I've thrown shows. I did the New Hop series at Northwest University. Since the pandemic started, we had to cancel technically 2 shows, because that would have been New Hop 3 and then my homie's album release party, and I was going to be performing on there.
David Bello has been making music in the Boston area since he was in 7th grade. He started by making hip-hop beats on pirated music programs like Fruity Loops. Now the 32-year-old makes his living with music, whether it's teaching music at the Boston Institute of Contemporary Art, working with kids throughout the summer, producing for movies and television, or making music under his name Lightfoot Beats. Music has always been a key part of Bello's life. According to Bello,
I think at first it was a nuisance, and then it started becoming real when I got word that my 2 places that I was working, ICA and TWHT, were closed and closed indefinitely. And it turns out then we opened up virtual programming. Before we knew that pivot, that was the first realization that that income is gone. And then I started thinking about more and more, if these jobs are shutting down, then maybe this will all be over in 3 months, and this really big gig that I have lined up, which will be good for my bills, will lock in, I'll be all set. And then it became clear that was not going to be the case either. So it got, I think it got nerve-wracking, but I have it easier than a lot of my peers, and I'm very aware of that. I think the kind of the sadder part is it's a really big hit for the Boston music scene.
many artists around the country have struggled during the pandemic, though there is light at the end of the tunnel.
I think it's gotten more personal for me, being that I'm forced to be more confined and to myself, or to your inner circle and family. So it's made my music has gotten a lot more personal in the last year compared to anything I've ever made.
I'm happy with where I'm at right now, man. I'm happy with the progress I'm making.
I've been sort of going really, 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 really hard. So I'm working on an album that will be released with a label. Very soon. I won't talk quite about who it is yet, but it will be dope.
This has been Harrison Laws, signing off. With WSU campuses closed this semester, students and teachers have been moving throughout the semester online. For some, it's been a breeze, and for others, it's hard to stay engaged on the online format. According to Whitman County Public Health, there are currently 1,091 cases of COVID-19 in Whitman County. WSU has remained remote with reduced in-person classes. Rebecca Cooney is a Washington State University professor in the Edward R. Murrow College of Communication. She is currently teaching a mix of live and pre-recorded courses. According to Cooney,
so as far as my asynchronous classes are going, my 100% online, everything's going pretty smoothly. I'm following all of the best practices. I'm very responsive. Students are being accountable. If they have questions, they are really quick to ask, and I'm quick to answer. So I feel really good about my asynchronous classes. 8 years teaching. This is my 9th year. I have entire classes built, everything, including announcements. Like my announcements are scheduled. I have all the assignments, lectures, interactive activities planned, 100%. So all I have to do is like sit down and make sure before classes that I've got my like daily course plan ready to go, and I'm just running.
some students feel distracted by the environment around them. Washington State University senior Natalie Newcomb has been finding new ways to cope with the seemingly endless distractions.
Like, for example, I've changed my like desk around so I'm facing like a blank wall versus like my TV that's off, but then there's books underneath it. I have my piano, I have my bike, and there's lots of things that I could zone out staring at. But then, so yeah, and so it's a lot harder to actually pay attention and be actually in that environment.
Many others off campus, it's not just the many distractions present in our dorm rooms, apartments, and homes. A lot of the lack of engagement comes from wanting to be on campus.
The other thing too is when it's in person, you're moving around and you're walking to campus and you're walking in between your classes and you're saying hi to people, and there's other ways to stimulate your brain, and then you can sit down and focus in class. While on these Zoom calls, I probably have been sitting in this exact chair for 2 hours before the class, and then the class starts and I'm still sitting here, haven't moved, and then I go straight into my next class, same thing, haven't moved, and after a while I'm just sitting here. And so it's hard to just like move around and like give myself like breaks and stuff. And also with it being very smoky outside, it's just really difficult.
And that's just a brief glimpse of how classes are going to be this semester here at WAZoom. I'm Harry Laws.